What's up, everyone? We're looking back at the iPhone 7 10 years later. Yeah, 10 years. Which is honestly wild because this phone still feels way more modern than its age. Well, when it first came out in 2016, it was kind of controversial because it had no headphone jack, which was first in phones at that time. But the real question is, how has it actually aged in 10 years? So let's get into it. This phone wasn't that flashy or anything. It was just Apple polishing what they already worked on and making it way better. It had a 4.7-inch LCD display with a solid aluminum body. And the design felt incredibly durable, no glass back, no crazy camera bump, none of that nonsense, and just this thing was built like a tank. And now let's talk about the build quality on this thing. Pick one up today and it still feels premium, dense, and purpose built. The matte black design that they brought out at that time was so premium, but this one's the rose gold, which also looks really premium actually. This phone was slim, you could hold it in one hand, and it would fit perfectly in your pocket. No sharp edges. And now, let's talk about the home button. Well, it wasn't technically a button, but it felt like one. The home button used something called haptic feedback, which feels like a button, but isn't actually a button. The old iPhones actually used like a normal button for this, and this was the first generation of iPhones that it was a haptic button instead of that. It was way more reliable than these old buttons or the ones on the iPhones, like I said. It was reliable, and it didn't take that much time to for people to... Now, let's quickly talk about the camera on this. It comes with a 12 megapixel rear camera, and it doesn't have the AI stuff or the ultra wide or the night mode, but in good lighting conditions, it can actually take some good photos. The battery on this, however, is kind of bad. At its time, it was actually pretty good, but obviously, over time, it's degraded. You can still put a new battery in these, but this iPhone I have has an 81% battery life, and it can give me backup for 4 to 5 hours. And it has no fast charging, it has no MagSafe, but if you're just using for... Okay, the chip in this iPhone is an A10 Fusion chip, which for its time was a monster, but let's be real, in 2026 it feels kind of old. But if you're not gaming on this or doing any hard tasks, it actually still works. Like the basics, like calls, texts, music, and light apps like some web browsing, it still works. That's kind of insane for a 10-year-old smartphone. The iOS support is not there anymore. They don't have the iOS 26 on this. It's stuck on the iOS 15.8.5 or something. But as a backup phone, it still works, and it holds up better than you'd expect. This phone wasn't revolutionary or anything special, but it was a foundational for modern iPhones. It cleaned up the design and quietly introduced changes we now take for granted. 10 years later, the iPhone still stands as one of the last simple iPhones before phones became giant glass-covered computers. And there's something really special about that. Well, if you guys enjoyed this video, please drop a like and subscribe and let me know what was your first iPhone. I'll see you guys in the next.